she was there. She was there at the exact spot she said. And her Ford Expedition, just happy to see me. Just beyond happy to see me. Took me home that day, let me know where my stuff was in the garage, and just told me, hey, we're going to figure this out. We're going to work this out. Don't worry, we got you. And that moment, I slept on the couch for like 2, 3 days. And I remember her just taking me to shelters, trying to get someone to help me and to take me in. But I was in high school, and I don't think, like I was an adult but in high school, so shelters couldn't take me. Adult shelters couldn't take me. Kid shelters couldn't take me. So a couple of days turned into a couple of weeks. Then I remember she asked my sister to get guardianship over me. And my sister signed a paper. I remember that day. And I stayed there. And as I stayed there longer and longer, so by then, the couch was no longer suitable for me because they had 2 daughters of their own, my sisters. So there was a half computer room. They said, hey, it's not a room full, but this is going to be your new room right now until we figure it out. And I stayed there longer and longer and longer and longer. And for me, I already told people they were my parents. I was already telling people that. I don't know why, but I was already telling people, hey, these are my parents. And I remember the first time I met my sisters. I had on Friday night at a high school basketball game. I embraced them. They embraced me. And I've been in love with my sisters ever since then. And they treated me like family. But when I became in the room, and I remember my mother started teaching me just daily life things, taking me my first restaurant to eat, taking me places I've never been, going to Starbucks for the first time, silly things, but for me, that was important. She just wanted me to learn how to live. And so my first birthday, I remember it. My first Christmas with them, I remember it. And I remember one day just being home, they tell me to sit down, and they asked me, how do you like it? How do you like living here with us? And of course, for me, I'm like, I love it. Like, I was amazed. Every person that came and, give me a ride home or picking me up for something, I was like, yeah, these are my parents. And of course, it's 2 white people coming out and waving, or 2 little girls in the front yard playing. I'm like, yeah, those are my sisters. I was beyond blessed. And I remember the day they were like, so we thinking we need a bigger house. And for the first time, someone wanted my opinion. I remember they asked me where did I want to live, which never asked me this. No one ever asked me that before. Asking me and then I remember going to Bruce Williams' home, and then going to see models of homes, and I got to pick what type of house that we were gonna live in if we were building. Or my mom used to take me to these neighborhoods to pick out houses where I was where we would live, and I had an opinion. And for me, I was amazed and just crazy. So I was happy. And they told me, yep, we're going to get a bigger home, and we want to make sure you're okay. So there was options, and then eventually they found the best. Yep. And they found the best house. But before we even got there, something I can recall, where I lived with them before that, and how wonderful that was where we lived. I used to go to a place called Shorewalk, and that's where I met, I would say, all my best friends in life. Gregory, Sam, Brother Michael, Edward, everyone that's still, I would say now in my life, like close. And none of them are born in America. I would say that's crazy, but I used to go there a lot and hang out. And to bring me here for circle, to where it put me. And by the time we move out of our old neighborhood, we move into this new neighborhood where my parents found the best house for the family. Me, future child, and my sisters. And so it had a mother-in-law house in the back. It was big house in the front, little house in the back for me. It was perfect for the whole family. And it was close by to my mother's sister, Emily. We moved in there. It wasn't quite finished yet, but it was the perfect house for the whole family. And the next summer, my mother, and I loved it, suggested I did some volunteer work. So I went away for summer, which was great, just working with kids, like my parents worked with me when I was in high school. Amazing. Met some great kids. And then I came back, and that's when I found out that I was having a baby sister, Summer. So I already had two sisters, and I was getting a third one. And so after that summer, I became mentoring young kids, sixth graders, and just being there for them like my parents was there for them. So I did that for 2 years, and that was amazing. But I picked up, just started doing another thing, and just took away from my time, which I regret still, but everything happens for a reason. And from that moment on, I was working, I staying active in my neighborhood, and then I started learning how to DJ. There was a guy that I used to bring him music every Sunday, every Wednesday, to this place called 30 something. I knew all the music that was coming out or it came out, and he never had it. So I remember every day I would download the music, put it on a CD, and bring it for him every Sunday and Wednesday. And then I remember one day he just told me, he was like, "Man, you want to learn how to do this stuff? I'm tired." And I was like, "What?" And I said, "Yes." And he taught me the most basic DJ move ever. Just press play and turn one up and turn one down as close as you can get to each other. And I played the rest of the night by myself, not knowing what I was able to do, what I was doing, but I did a good enough job, and people knew me. I loved every second of it, every second. And so from that moment on, I just showed up every week ready to learn what else I can do. And unfortunately, that didn't last very long. The place was shut down within, I want to say after 1 month of me being there, because it's too rowdy and it was in the wrong neighborhood, so it got closed down. But for that short little experience, I gained something. And then one of my good friends, Aaron, became a club promoter. And I was an up and coming DJ. So we had lunch one day. He goes, "Hey, I don't know what I'm doing, and you're a DJ, and I think we could do this together. If we do this together, we'll split everything." I said, "Okay." So we got a Wednesday night someplace in Sarasota, Margarita Maggie's. No one would go there. No one was being there, but we continued trying out every week. And then finally one day, we did the best thing. We did a competition, and we were going to give $1,000 away. And I knew three younger guys that knew everyone, plus I knew people. And I said, "Hey, Mike, David, if you can help me get people here, I will give you drinks for free." And those guys brought about 50, 60 people, plus the people we brought. So for two kids that didn't know what they were doing, we packed that place. And from that moment on, DJing became my passion. Still work during the daytime, but Wednesday turned into Wednesday and Friday, and then Wednesday turned into Friday, Saturday. So I was doing 3 nights a week and still not knowing how to DJ yet, but I had the following, so I was doing that, and it was just amazing. I loved every minute of it.
But at that moment, how old were you?
By then, I would say I was 20, I would say 20, 21.
So high school was finished?
High school was finished. I was going to Manatee Technical Institute after high school for a travel agent and carpentry. But my money grant, which was free money to go to school, was taken away from me because I wasn't a U.S. citizen. So the government took away my help. So after I think I did half a semester and find out how expensive it was, I stopped going because I couldn't afford to do it. So I stopped going to school. My parents understood, and I was doing good with working and DJing. So financially, it was good, but school would have been more important. But without the proper paperwork, you cannot go to school unless you have X amount of funds. So continues DJ, and by then, my parents and I found out that my sister in 2000 had applied for my permanent residency in the U.S., which is great. And when we got the letter, it was already 2 years later since she applied for it, but because I ran away in 2000 and had no connection, she didn't bother to get in contact with me, to let me know, or at least pass it to my cousins who I still had contact with. So I finally got a letter one day from immigration saying, if you don't come to Miami and do this interview, you're going to get deported. And my parents being, I would say, not knowledge, and I'm not knowledge in immigration either at the time. I had school or something. The first time it was like, oh, we can't skip school, or my father had to work and my mother just had a baby or some sort. We couldn't make it with that short notice because it was within a day. So my parents just decided to write a letter, which that's the American way. You write, let them know, hey, we acknowledge we got this paper. Fortunately, we can't make it. Is there any way we can just reschedule? Well, that reschedule changed my life, because that reschedule would have been, if I would have just went, I would have been a permanent residency right then and there. It would have been over and done with. But because we rescheduled and letting immigration know I no longer lived in Miami, I lived in Bradenton, Florida, they transferred my case from Miami immigration office to Tampa immigration office. And once it got there, they basically started me all over for my process for a permanent residency. So I remember my mom going to see an immigration lawyer in Bradenton, and he told my mother, he told me and my mother, but again, not knowing the knowledge that we hope we did, he said, this case is very difficult, or it's not a normal case, because the fact is how I came, how everything was. He said, if I were you, even if you don't hire me, you should hire an immigration lawyer. Don't do this on your own. You could, but don't do it on your own. And at the time, it just seemed harmless to do it because it was almost done. We're just going to finish the process. And that process turned into 13 years.